Joining me now is Nick Holscher. He's with the McCullough Foundation. Nick, welcome back to the broadcast. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so Nick, we have a rogue FDA. Is the FDA not under the control of the Trump administration?
It appears that the FDA has officially gone rogue. They have approved for adults over 65 and ages 12 to 64 with at least one comorbidity the next generation Moderna mRNA shot called mNEXSpike. This new mRNA shot was approved based on 0 placebo-controlled trials, despite a recent HHS statement that came out where they actually said all new vaccines will be licensed based on placebo-controlled data. So in other words, it does appear that the FDA has gone against what the HHS wants, which is proper science, and they are recklessly approving novel next generation mRNA shots.
Now, who is the head of the FDA?
It appears Marty Makary is the commissioner of the FDA. I'm not sure of his role specifically in this approval, and I truly hope he wasn't involved because this is gravely worrisome.
Well, hasn't he? Tell me about the man. What do we know about him?
Yeah, it appears that, when he goes on TV, he says that, oh, well, I don't know if, five-year-olds should be getting their 7th booster shot. He claims they don't know the answer to that. Well, we do, right? At McCullough Foundation, we published 20 studies outlining how these kill people via multiple organ systems and basically destroy the body. And that corroborates about thousands of other peer-reviewed papers. So, we know, people who have actually been reading the data know that nobody should be lining up for any booster, particularly with mRNA that destroys their whole body. And so it appears he's not being truthful to the American people, or he's unaware of the studies.
Okay, so does RFK Jr. have any control over the FDA as the head of HHS?
He supposedly does have, he is supposed to be able to direct their policy, but it appears that that's not the case. It appears that he doesn't really have control over these, what we could call rogue elements. And this was probably expected. There are so many vaccine ideologues still within the government that worship vaccines as the only source of preventative measures, that they will, this just wasn't surprising. I'm honestly not surprised, but this just truly reveals just how bad the situation is. And everybody realizes it, right? They are being just critically attacked by basically everybody in the MAHA movement now. And, they really should reverse course, if they want to save face at this point. They made a big mistake.
Okay, so I let my radio audience know today, I have been fighting COVID for the 4th time for the last several weeks since I got back from Washington, D.C. Apparently, there was some new strain of COVID on the East Coast that's spreading rapidly. I got back from D.C. quite sick. I think today is one of the better days as far as my voice not being hoarse. I have been hoarse for weeks, and I thought, am I ever going to get my voice back? Of course, I have to talk about 4 hours a day just on the air. Not to mention I talk off the air. And my voice is just tired, hurts, sore, drainage, exhausted. By 6 o'clock, I'm ready for bed. And that's exactly what happened every time I've gotten COVID in the past. So I tried not to get on a Z-Pack because I don't want to take too many antibiotics. It destroys the good bacteria. So I just fought it. I finally had to pull out my wellness company kit. I had to go to the Z-Pack. I also have a doctor friend of mine that gave me another Z-Pack because I'm trying to keep enough Z-Packs on hand with my wellness company kits to not delve into too many of those. And then the ivermectin and the zinc. So I've had no choice. But today is one of the better days in weeks and weeks. Now, I didn't know anyone else until the last 24 hours, less than 24 hours. I have a dear friend in town. She has the same thing. She's old enough to be my mom and just a dear friend of Melissa and I's. And she's been in bed sick with this. Deep frog throat, she said, worn out. Leo Holman, he's got a real deep throat today and drainage, all the symptoms I have. Exhausted, worn out. So, interesting. The New York Post, I think it was the New York Post had the piece that there was a new strain out and it was highly contagious. And that appears to be what this is. That's at least what I'm being treated for, and I'm getting better. What are you hearing about all this? And by the way, the summertime, this is not when we're supposed to be getting colds and sneezing and flu-like symptoms, right?
Right, right. Well, this appears to be a consequence of the mass genetic countermeasure campaign and the unfortunate release of the SARS-CoV-2 bioweapon back in 2019 or 2020. And so now this is just what happens. It appears that we do know that the mass mRNA vaccination campaign did create new variants. And this is probably a result of that. No, so now we have another strain emerging, but it is still expected to, it shouldn't have a high mortality rate. It still should remain mild. We still await to see the full dynamics of this strain, but I would say, we don't want to be fear mongering and say, it's gonna, we need new mRNA vaccines and we have to mask up, because that's the messaging currently coming out of the mainstream media regarding this strain. But what you really should be doing is taking preventative measures, right? And that includes nasal sprays and gargles, iodine-based or saline-based, as well as ensuring proper vitamin D levels, vitamin C levels, and various minerals. And so make sure you're healthy, make sure you're in good shape, and even have some hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin in hand, as well as GC from green tea and zinc. And these compounds will offer benefit.
A lot of this, by the way, is available at the worldviewhealthcare.com. Worldviewhealthcare.com, which is a wellness company. You can pick that up there. We can put that on the lower third if you guys want. Worldviewhealthcare.com. Here we go over on your X feed. Menstrual abnormalities strongly associated with proximity to COVID-19 vaccinated individuals. Now, about 2 years ago, I have someone in my life that I won't divulge everybody's medical history. That's up to them to do. But I have someone close in my life that was having menstrual abnormalities. And I got on the phone and I called up Thorpe and I said, Dr. Thorpe, OBGYN, I got someone in my life here that's having a problem, and these people have not had the shot, but we have been around people that have. Are people shedding on us, and are they shedding on this individual to create menstrual abnormalities? And the good doctor said, oh, yeah. Yes,
it's possible. And this study headed by Dr. Sue Peters does indeed prove this, or at least proves that there is a definite and distinct possibility that these products do indeed shed onto innocent bystanders. In this study, what they did was they looked at women, they collected survey responses, and the women who were within 6 feet of vaccinated individuals outside of the household, those women experienced significant increases in these menstrual cycle abnormalities, including heavier bleeding, delayed periods, longer periods. And we do know that the vaccination itself, or not vaccination, injection, mRNA injection itself, does actually severely disrupt the menstrual cycle. This is now shown in tens and tens of peer-reviewed studies. And so since we know that the injection itself does it, and now we see people in close proximity to those individuals experiencing that side effect, we do believe that this is indeed shedding.
All right, so let's go to this article. Here's an article I have over at worldviewreport.com, your daily aggregated news site, worldviewreport.com. I've linked to this one. 2024 desktop exercise war. Gamed bioterrorist attack that kills 280,000 Americans in a single day on the 4th of July, 2025. Now, we all remember Event 201, right? That ran an event and then COVID happened, right? So whenever these guys get together and run a report, you might be a little concerned, right? Well, Dr. David E. Martin, CEO of MCAM, joined Matt Weinglass and Stephanie how we say the name, on the Homeless Left podcast on Thursday discussed a report that describes an exercise reminiscent of the 201 event. Report published by the U.S. Bipartisan Commission on Biodefense in April-May 2024, entitled The National Blueprint for Biodefense. Well, let's just go to it, all right? And let's see, is there a way to tell who's involved in this? Oh, yes. Yes. Joe Lieberman, chair. I guess at one time he was the chair. I don't know. He's not now. I guess he was a senator, Joseph Lieberman. He's not even alive anymore, is he? Is he still living, Logan? Who's in the control room? Is he even alive, Joseph Lieberman? Yeah, look that up. Thomas Ridge. Remember Tom Ridge, former Secretary of Homeland Security under George W., former governor of Wisconsin? Donna Shalala. Yeah, he died last year in March. They might want to take him off the commissioner's list. Donna Shalala. Remember when Rush Limbaugh used to make fun of Donna Shalala? Tom Daschle. Remember him, Senate Majority Leader? I don't know about you, but this sounds like an awful lot of deep staters to me. That's my opinion. I don't know if you recognize any of these names, Nick, but they supposedly put out this report, okay? And they ran this exercise, and you can download the report, so I'll do that. And they ran some kind of, let me put in July 4th, yeah. Joint inquiry about a bioterrorist attack July 4th, 2025. The infectious agent used killed at least 280,000 Americans and affected at least 400,000 throughout the country in a single day, in addition to 200,000 dead and 800,000 sickened animals. They ran a tabletop that had happened on July 4th. The smaller scale attacks went largely unnoticed. There were some smaller ones as well. Laboratory tests confirmed that Nipah virus caused the disease. And apparently it has a mortality rate of over 40%. Okay. Are you aware of this? Are you hearing this for the first time in my reporting? And what do you make of all this?
I have seen that report, and that does concern me gravely. And I actually, and that report, honestly, that's gone under the radar for about a year, right? Like, I never heard of it until a few days ago. Most of us never heard of it. But it concerns me because we do know that the biopharmaceutical complex does subscribe to what seems to be predictive programming in these events, in these documents, where they do forecast what's actually going to happen, like we did see with Event 201. So now this indicates a bioterror attack on July 4th, 2025. Now, will something happen July 4th, 2025? I don't think they're going to put the exact date there, but this is something that I believe they do have planned, which is a actual bioterrorist attack. This has now been warned by Bill Gates himself, and he laughs about it when he talks about it. He says, and bioterror, while he's laughing uncontrollably. And then we also have former White House COVID czar Ashish Jha, who also said we are entering an age of bioweapons. He said that a few months ago. And then we have Peter Marks, the ousted FDA official that was in charge of the vaccine research. He came out right after he was fired and said, now all of a sudden we're going to be unprotected against all sorts of bioweapons. So they have this planned, and we got to take preemptive action to prevent this.
So again, does this go back to, I don't want to turn this into a commercial, but if the circumstances call for it, then it does. Is this where, again, I know you don't work for the wellness company, but is this where people better be getting, things like the contagion kit and emergency kit, ivermectin, amoxicillin, those kind of things, and just keeping them on hand, or what?
Yes. Having medications that have now been proven to work against SARS-CoV-2 and other viruses is definitely essential to have in the case of an emergency, right? And that's common sense. And so along with pharmaceuticals that are helpful, nutraceuticals as well are also critical to have on hand in the case of acute illness. And one big one is actually curcumin. Curcumin has shown antiviral activity against basically every single virus and shows major promise in clinical trials. And so, yeah, definitely you want to be prepared when there's another viral, or even what they now are warning about is these bioweapon attacks.
Now, what is a Nipah? What is the Nipah virus?
Yeah, the Nipah virus, I believe right now it's only in Africa right now, and it does have a high mortality rate, but it's not very infectious, right? And so it's not spreading very easily. But so what they're saying is somebody's going to take it, put it in a laboratory, and majorly modify its genetics to so it can transmit to humans better, so it can kill more, and actually do both of them. Because usually when you have a virus and it's more deadly, it'll be less transmissible. But they're claiming in that report it's going to be both. And we do know that they do likely have these pathogens already cooked up, and they're sitting in freezers in various biolaboratories across the world, many of which are undeclared to the public.
Yeah. They were talking about some kind of animal to animal, animal to human, human to human, transfer in this report, I guess. Have you had a chance to read it?
I haven't read the full report. I have not. I have just seen the reporting on the report, and it does concern me. It does concern me, particularly when we have all the officials, public health officials, former ones, warning about bioweapon attacks.
They want you to maintain a diagnostic test kit for each disease that stockpiled vaccines address, increase diagnostic reimbursement and testing for diseases likely to impact national security. They have all their measures out here. I don't know. I get a little concerned when they start running tabletop exercises. I always get a little nervous. Well, I guess so, rightfully so, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Now we have this company, and this may not be in your wheelhouse. What is it? What's the company called, Logan? Palantir? Palantir. It's a company that I guess the President Trump's administration has tapped, what I'm reading, to develop a file on every American. Are we headed toward more and more of a vaccine passports and social credit scores and all this being combined? Are you keeping track of this Palantir company?
Yeah, I haven't looked too far into it, but I have read reports on it, and yeah, I am. Whenever something involves mass surveillance or mass collection of data on Americans, that should always be, that should always raise major concerns with people, right? And
Yep.
that just is more attempt of government overreach onto their citizens. And it also shows that there are people within our government still that do want mass control, mass surveillance, particularly with these AI systems of Americans. And so that's running full steam ahead. It appears nobody is stopping it.
Now I'm just going to go over to thefocalpoints.com, thefocalpoints.com. Vet Association issues cat avian flu advisory. Was there a 2010 episode of The Simpsons about this, by the way?
Yes. This was a post by author historian John Leake, and he compares this advisory of people saying be wary that your cats will get bird flu with the Simpsons episode. And if people go on our focal points, watch that Simpsons episode, you will see it's basically the exact same thing. They're going to try and make people afraid of their own cats. And once people are afraid of their own animals, then you will really have the fear factor, and they will try and push genetic injections, not only on you, but on your pets as well.
Well, do we have a shot that shows Dolly? I don't think we have the Dolly cam set up. They're sleeping on her pet bed. She's good. She's in the studio. My cat jumped up on me last night for some attention. I let her lay up on my lap and stroked her ears and scratched her ears for a little bit. She followed me around the house this morning, and before I came into the studio. But I got 3 dogs, a cat. They want me to be afraid of my animals, do they? Not going to happen.
They do. They want you to be afraid, and their primary concern is if they ate raw chicken sourced from a bird flu farm. So I guess
Oh, you know what they do? I dropped them off at a chicken farm that's laced with bird flu every day for treats, and then we pick them up in the afternoon. Of course, I mean, well, a bus.
Yeah,
Actually, it's a bus. It's a bus full of canines and felines that comes by, and we're like, "Hop on, kids, have fun." You've
yeah.
seen
Send
those
them to
fun
the
videos,
zoo.
though, by the way, where people stop by and pick up the dogs with a bus, and they come to daycare. Have you seen that?
I've seen it. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So if your pet has been eating chicken that was at a bird flu infected farm,
So I guess it's possible if this farm, so they do sell raw chicken morsels, and they say, well, if these raw chicken morsels came from a bird flu infected factory, that the cats could get bird flu, and they've reported that some cats have died from it. But if you want to just not even think about that, just if you all right, if you're gonna feed your cat raw chicken, don't source it from America, then just source it from New Zealand. If you really are concerned about those reports.
yeah, I don't do that. She prefers just the Friskies hard cat food anyway. So, well, we're living in a crazy world, and I guess there's so much to talk about. A runaway FDA, and then a tabletop exercise, if I can find it again, a tabletop exercise on for a national blueprint for biodefense put out in April 2024, and somehow we're just now finding out about it, and it came out a year ago. I just found out about that today. You said you found out about it a couple days ago?
Yeah, I did not hear of this last year.
Me neither. And you and I, this is what we do for our living.
Right, right. We do this for a living. So that just goes to show things go under the radar. For all we know right now, there's probably so many strange documents that say so many bad things that we're not aware of.
But somebody somewhere, there's a group of people that seem to know something might happen, are preparing for this thing. And it sounds like from the report, it was gain of function, right? People are fooling around with a Nipah virus to make it go human to human, right?
Yes, yes. Well, that's the next play. They're actually going to admit the next one is a bioweapon, right? Instead of trying to pretend it's not, they're going to admit it is.
Why?
And they're going to
Why?
try and amplify it. What was that?
Why? So they can freak people out? Because last time they didn't want to admit it, now they do. Oh, it's a bioweapon. Because can you imagine the fear? Now people will be lining up around the block to get their shot to protect them against the bioweapon. The government now admits it's a bioweapon, right? By the way, how do we know they're not going to do this to provoke us to war? It was a bioweapon attack by Russia. And now NATO can send us into war together, right? Russia, so we can go to World War III, right?
Yeah. Oh, that is definitely up their playbook. They would love to blame the so-called bioweapon attack that they have planned on an adversary country like China, like Russia, like Iran, so we can go in there, bomb them, and start nuclear World War III and destroy half of humanity. There are crazy people that would love to see that happen. And that has to be stopped at all costs. And so one way to do that is there should literally be an international campaign to go into all those biolabs and destroy these modified pathogens that have no place in existence.
Yep, 100%. Look at this. If you want to follow Nick, here's how you do it. At Nick Helsher, NIC is Nick. No K, just NIC. Real simple. NIC Helsher. There you go. And you can follow him at thefocalpoints.com, thefocalpoints.com. He is the epidemiologist and administrator at the McCullough Foundation. And at McCullough Foundation is the handle on X for the McCullough Foundation. All right, keep us posted. Lots in the news. As always, we appreciate you, Nick.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Nick Helsher checking in tonight. Appreciate Nick. Make sure you folks, you're getting all of your meds and everything ready to go there at worldviewhealthcare.com. Get your different medical kits. I have several of them. Okay. Worldviewhealthcare.com. I'm not doing anything or not suggesting you do anything I don't do. I have these kits. I have a lot of these blue ones right there. The ivermectin, amoxicillin. Worldviewhealthcare.com. Worldviewhealthcare.com. Don't forget, they also have a plan you can sign up for like the One Wellness Premier, you get free prescriptions. The Elite, you get free prescriptions plus free supplements. Doesn't take using too many supplements before you've used up that $99, so it starts paying for itself pretty quick. You can check all that out at worldviewhealthcare.com. Worldviewhealthcare.com. We'll be right back after this break. Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.